So everybody thinks that restaurants use an obscene amount of butter and salt in all of their things. And while that's definitely true to an extent, that's not all we do. I'm just gonna show you a few ingredients that I like to use every day that are alternatives to some of these things. So yeah, let's check it out. So first category is vinegar. That's definitely a necessity. If you find something kind of falls flat, you're usually wanting some vinegar. And this one, especially fruit vinegars, this brand right here, I don't really want to say, 'cause some of the homies are gonna hate me for showing this off, but this is total secret weapon stuff. We have some fruit vinegars, which are huge, go a long way. They keep a lot of sweetness in a lot of the dishes that you do, that you definitely need to help balance some of these dishes, sauces, vinaigrettes, whatever. Got some longer ferment fruit vinegars, which the longer you ferment, the more acetic acid is in it. So you're gonna have a little bit more of that, vinegary punch to it. And then you've got super, super long ferments out of super sweet things. This is a Garnacha vinegar. And this one is super killer in place of something like a lighter sherry or something like that. So yeah, this is what we do. Second category, fats. So this is something that we also incorporate a lot. We talked about a little bit of butter or a lot of bit of butter that you think that we actually incorporate. Like I said, that's definitely true to an extent, but we also use fats if they make sense, right? So right now we have a tartare on the menu and we are confing an egg yolk for that tartare in its own fat. So we do a Wagyu tartare, we're confing the egg yolk in Wagyu fat. Just kind of makes sense. Duck fat, obviously you've heard of in the restaurants before. Frying French fries, using it for confing, whatever it may be, but duck fat is actually super delicious in a lot of different things. I'm gonna go ahead and get some on right now because I gotta get going. Number 3, mushroom bouillon. Again, this is something the homies are gonna kill me for showing this off, but this is definitely a winner, another secret weapon thing. It doesn't have to necessarily be this exact brand. We do use a lot of smoked mushroom stems, especially if we have shiitakes in a dish, and again, it has to be relevant. But if we are doing shiitakes in a dish, we'll take those stems, we'll smoke them, we'll grill them. We can definitely dehydrate them and then add them to salts or whatever it may be to create kind of your own mushroom bouillon. But this is something that you definitely want for super, super in-depth if you're doing soups or sauces or something like that. If you have anything that's mushroom relevant, definitely a winner. Boom, 4. This is probably my favorite. We use a ton of ferments, and we do a lot of it, I would say most of it in-house. We do everything except for literally make MSG, but we kind of do in a way. So we do a lot of things with misos, koji rice. We do all of our own kojis and everything in-house. So this is something I made the other day, and this is gonna help us transform certain proteins and starches into different ferments like misos, garums, some vinegars, amazake, stuff like that. And this just breaks down some of those proteins and starches into things like glutamic acids, which are incredibly delicious, obviously. It flavors things. We do ice creams with it, we do sauces with it and soups with it. We even age things in it. Sometimes you can take the actual koji rice itself, we can dehydrate it, and we can rub proteins with it before we grill them. Or you can even make things like shio koji. Shio koji is kind of a mix of saltwater brine and koji rice. This just helps incorporate some of that really delicious umami flavor into a brine, which then you can age, duck breast or any sort of beef, anything like that in there. And then we do take some of our scrap proteins and we will make garums and sauces and stuff like that for them. So again, referencing that tartare, we confit that egg yolk in the Wagyu fat. We have the Wagyu beef that we're doing the tartare with, and we also season it with Wagyu garum that's made from the koji rice. So this one's probably my favorite. It's a wild rabbit hole. So last but not least, The most important ingredient that you could possibly have in any kitchen, keep it seasonal. This is something that is incredibly important anywhere you are in the world. And if you can't keep things seasonal, you preserve them. Here in Colorado, we don't have the greatest and most extensive growing season whatsoever. So we definitely try to take as much of our seasonal produce that we can. We take it at its absolute peak. We preserve it. We can it, we dry it, we ferment it, whatever that may be. But these are some tomatoes and some corn from a local farm that we have. And we're probably going to use this, I don't know, something 6 months from now when it's absolutely dumping snow outside. So go ahead and try it. Have a garden, keep it seasonal, preserve what you can, and just keep everything, as fresh and as proper as you possibly can. So while we do use tons of salt, tons of butter and everything, don't let it skew your vision of this being everything that we use. These are a few ingredients we do actually use as alternatives to these things. I actually had an amazing dinner in Amsterdam recently that they didn't use any salt. They only used it for their ferments, and he seasoned everything with his soy sauces and his kojis, his misos, purely with that. He wasn't taking his proteins and seasoning them and grilling them. He was marinating them. He was seasoning them with soy sauces and stuff, and it was incredible. So there's definitely alternatives to the way that you think and approach food in the kitchen, and that's kind of what we're trying to do, is preserve things at their absolute peak and be able to reuse them in every capacity that we possibly can to keep things seasonal and add acid to things where needed and cook things in fats that are absolutely relevant. So that's a little bit of what we do. I think the sixth and probably the most important one is definitely coffee. It's chef fuel for sure.